Look what TJ Maxx dragged in.
The Devil Wears Prada 2 is now streaming on Disney Plus and Hulu.
We are digital, we are downloadable, we are streamable.
The fashion event of the year is certified fresh.
Pull yourself together, we have work to do.
Critics say it's smart and witty and the perfect sequel.
That's all.
Get runway ready for The Devil Wears Prada 2 on Disney Plus and Hulu. Rated PG-13.
Starting a business can seem like a daunting task, unless you have a partner like Shopify. They have the tools you need to start and grow your business. From designing a website to marketing to selling and beyond, Shopify can help with everything you need. There's a reason millions of companies like Mattel, Heinz, and Allbirds continue to trust and use them. With Shopify on your side, turn your big business idea into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
Hi, Ryan Reynolds here for Mint Mobile. Are you looking for a beach read this summer? May I suggest your big wireless bill? It's got suspense, mystery, a slightly flat, emotional arc, and a shocking twist where you realize you've been overpaying the entire time. Fortunately, though, Mint's story is better. Every plan, $15 a month. Even unlimited. That's it. Happy ending, 0 tears.
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. See terms.
Drink? Now, shall we begin?
Hello. Most listeners will remember Michael Caine and Stanley Baker in Zulu. But in order to provide the historical context to that film, I've selected Zulu Dawn, which was its prequel. And so despite being released 15 years after Zulu, it's chronologically 24 hours earlier. This is the British film Zulu Dawn, made in 1979, starring Peter O'Toole, Burt Lancaster and Bob Hoskins. Joining me is Roger Moorhouse, and in Tim Hewitt's place, Alec Marsh, author, Telegraph columnist, and a lovely chap. So I hope you enjoy. Now let's head into the club to discuss Zulu Dawn.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Roger. Welcome back.
Hello, Ollie.
Hello. And hello, Alec Marsh.
Hello, Ollie.
A new guest. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Good to be here. I'm delighted to be standing in for Tim, although I know less about films than he does, it must be said.
No, but you are a more than worthy substitute. And so for the benefit of listeners, Roger, who is obviously always providing the, in this case, very relevant World War II historical knowledge to Anglo-Zulu War. Yeah. And then Alec, who is Telegraph columnist and writer of historical thrillers, of which there will be links available. And so I think really it's your Telegraph experience that will stand you in good stead today as we discuss imperial embarrassments, or maybe in your view, something to be proud of. I don't know. But we'll today we are discussing, I'll keep an eye on that. Today we are discussing Zulu Dawn, and then we'll also do Zulu. So there's a lot of Zulus to get through.
As they said at Rorke's Drift, of course.
Yeah, and Isandlwana. So Zulu Dawn. So I think the reason why I picked Zulu Dawn first is it does provide the historical context that is severely lacking in Zulu, but we'll get to that later. And so Zulu Dawn is a film made, I think, on the 100th anniversary of the Battle of Isandlwana, and it was all-star cast, but I'll just rattle through some of the basics for us all, and then we can get cracking. Yeah. So Zulu Dawn, directed by Douglas Hickox, and it's a screenplay, was originally written by Cy Enfield, who may be familiar to those of people who've watched Zulu a lot, because he was obsessed with the Zulu story, and he made the film. And then we've got Burt Lancaster. He's really the big name to attract the finances. And then Peter O'Toole, Simon Ward, Denham Elliott, Bob Hoskins Peter Vaughan and John Mills, as well as a number of other actors who will be familiar to people who watched a lot of British TV in the 1970s.
And a young Phil Daniels.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I think it was before Quadrophenia, wasn't it?
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and then so the film, it was released, I think, with kind of someone, I think it was Hickox or was it the other producer, Story, put all his money into it, and it was a complete disaster, and he lost it all. It made no money. It didn't get a release in America. It's a complete disaster. And so it was consigned to, I guess, Sunday afternoons on terrestrial TV for the rest of its life.
Mm.
But it's had a rebirth, and it was remastered and given a 4K treatment, and was re-released by a new film production company that has the rights, blah, blah, blah. So it's now back out again in a glorious 4K if you want to get the DVD. But is it worthy of that is the question I guess we're going to ask today.
Yes.
So I guess, Roger, we'll kick off with your initial thoughts.
Yeah, I was pretty unimpressed with Zulu Dawn. I thought Zulu was fantastic. We'll come to that in a bit. But Zulu Dawn, I thought, was a bit too ponderous. It was a bit too in love with the sort of the crowd shots and the long lingering, the scenery and so on, which is all good. But then if you overuse it, which I think this did, then it becomes a bit too obvious what's going on. I thought Burt Lancaster was atrocious, honestly. I mean, what the hell was that accent? Like, what? I mean, seriously, I have no clue where he was supposed to have come from. I think the original character he was playing, I think, was supposed to be an Anglo-Irishman.
Yes,
but God knows what that accent was. It was just an absolute, dog's breakfast. So I thought he was dreadful, like properly dreadful, like really. And I thought a lot of, this is 1979, and I suppose we're almost into, filmmaking, not necessarily just as a sort of spectacle and an entertainment, but as some sort of lesson. We're into the foothills of that. Obviously, we're in that, with a vengeance now. But I thought there were little glimpses of the sort of pointy, waggy finger. The sort of the contrast between the noble, if you like, if we can say this, noble savages, and then the sort of the sybaritic lifestyle of the British in their with the women in the nice dresses and the dinner parties and the garden parties and so on. That was all, I thought, was all rather too obvious in terms of sort of political and politicized messaging. That said, all of that, I mean, that is fairly damning, I'm afraid. But I mean, all that said, I thought the battle scenes were pretty good, actually. They were pretty well done. I particularly liked the ending with the colours, trying to get the colours out of there and failing. The battle scenes were pretty good. I think they were just a bit too long. So I think it's one of those things that maybe, like so often, a bit of judicious cutting might have made all the difference, but it wouldn't have made much difference to Burt Lancaster, unfortunately. But I think there was just a slightly too sort of ponderous in the filmmaking, I thought. So to me, it was I don't know, if we're talking marks out of 10, I would say it's a solid 5, maybe 5.5. But it's
that's quite generous.
Yeah, do you think?
Does that become 3 stars out of 5? When you're forced to...
I don't think I'd go to a 3. I think if it's out of 5, I'd go 2.
Go 2.
2 out of 5.
Yeah.
Well, Alec, before I move to you, I'll just do a quick... I realised I'll just do a quick summary of the plot, because it might not have made much sense with garden parties, because you're expecting to see, lots of Zulus knifing Brits.
I mean, which you do, to be fair.
Yes, you do. That definitely happens. So
that definitely happens.
Basically, you have John Mills plays Bartle Frere, and you have Peter O'Toole, who's actually very good.
I thought Peter O'Toole was brilliant.
Yeah. Slimy Chelmsford.
Yeah.
And they are basically cooking up a war, and they are going to invade Zululand, the peace-loving Zulu Empire, which we will get onto.
Which is a dodgy concept.
And they go straight in and, they concoct this war. I think basically there's always a struggle for land around that part of South Africa. The discovery of diamonds a few years before. The rise of the Zulu Empire is very interesting. And anyway, so they decide they invade Zululand. Chelmsford makes a terrible blunder and divides his force. So you've got two columns. One column decides to set up camp under the mountain of Isandlwana, and whilst Chelmsford goes off with the other column and has lunch, and then basically the Zulus,
for lunch. Love it.
Yeah,
it's like cricket. Cricket stops for tea. It's the height.
It's a shame there was no cricket. It would have been brilliant if they
could have done that. They could have had a.
It could have, yeah. And then the Zulu, who are using this brilliant tactical innovation called the bull's horns, and the loin is the body of the force, and the horns basically they surround the camp, and the loin moves in, and basically all the British are slaughtered terribly. That's basically the film. Alec, what do you think? Had you seen it before? I think you said you'd seen it a long time ago.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever watched the entire film all the way through, and I think that it tells you something. It's a bit, and I think to try what Roger said, it's a bit like one of those 60s or 50s, swords and sandals classics from Hollywood, about the Roman Empire, which you never ever make it the whole way through because it just doesn't sustain a modern audience. Because it doesn't talk to the audience in quite the way that we used to anymore. That said, so I watched it for the first time from beginning to end the other day, and it is beautiful. There's no doubt about it. Like each frame is honeyed. The landscapes are beautiful, and when Simon Ward's character goes over the brow of the hill, and they see the Zulu impis, like my lord, like there's a lot of people in that shot. And there's no CGI, by the way. That's real dust. They're real people. And, it's a miracle people didn't flee the cinemas, if they indeed went to the cinemas, because it is truly terrifying. It's as good as the moment in Jaws when the shark goes for the person. It's like it's a real terror moment. And that's probably one of the best moments in the film, is we see the magnitude of it. And in a weird way, it's more impressive than in Zulu, which we'll talk to you about later, when they had the same big reveal moment. Look, guys, there's lots of people coming. But for all that, it is slow. It could definitely do with 20 minutes shaved out of it. I couldn't tell you how long the film is, but you could take out.
It's just shy of 2 hours, I think, which is not long by modern standards, but it did feel, like you said, it did feel like it needed an edit.
I think the garden party went on way too long.
Yeah. And golly, O'Toole is good. Weirdly, I was thinking he sort of, as an older man, he's sort of playing the character that Claude Rains, I think. It wasn't Claude Rains, was it? Whoever it was played in Lawrence of Arabia.
Yeah, it was Claude Rains.
It was Claude Rains, yeah. And he's he's old, he's 18 years older than when he did Lawrence. And he's sort of, he's good. I wonder if he overcooks it, but his range is there. There's that moment,
he's terribly good at being rude to all these people who are either, he doesn't like anyone who isn't. Basically, sounds like he didn't like anyone who didn't go to Eton.
Yeah, I think he's been to lots of posh parties in Mayfair, and so he's been treated like that enough times himself by people who've never seen Lawrence of Arabia, and he was getting his own back on them. So look, the film is too long, yes. But the main weakness, I think, is we don't care enough about the individual characters.
That's true. Yeah.
So, for example, Bob Hoskins is the kind of. It's impossible to talk about it without talking about Zulu. But in Zulu, of course, there is. It's Nigel Green, isn't he? Who plays Colour Sergeant Bourne, who's this very colourful character and is written very richly. What we're quoting the Psalms. Or in here, we've got Bob Hoskins, who ostensibly provides the same human bit of colour at the heart of this tragedy to bring it home, and he doesn't really get the time to shine. Brilliant actor though he is. There's one moment.
I thought he was absolutely brilliant in it.
He is, but he's not used enough.
I agree with that.
You know, there's too many lingering shots of dresses and garden parties and people running and scampering over hills, and not enough bits of him. You know, there's a moment where the boy gets shot, and that is really affecting, isn't it? But you know, if it had been Dickens, they would have exploited that so much more, wouldn't they? You know, Tiny Tim's crutch by the half. So I think there's not enough. Yeah, we needed another wife, basically.
I think it's interesting you mentioned about that, because also I think Peter Vaughan, who sort of is the quartermaster, is also fantastic. Yeah, but you're right. They don't develop that enough. And then what they do develop too much is the Simon Ward character, who you're not quite sure. So whilst he does reveal the Zulu army, but he sort of shows up in camp and downs a bottle of massive jug of wine, and then just. I don't quite see the point of him, and I think he was created. He wasn't
he's a real person. He was a real person. Lieutenant William Vereker, I think, unless I got fooled by some AI overview. But he actually died at the last stand, Colonel Pulley's last stand, and he didn't go off to try and rescue the colours, because that's the bit they made up. But he was really there, and he's related to the Gort family. General Gort, one.
Of course, another Anglo-Irish family.
Yeah, but you're right. Like, he's not a character with intrinsic tension, particularly. There's a bit of local farmer versus posh military kind of stuff tension going on, but it's not fundamental to the story. Yes. And therefore it feels a bit forced. Whereas, obviously, to go back to Zulu, where you've got, because he's essentially like the Caine character in Zulu. He's the young officer who we follow through. And maybe there's just, although he acts brilliantly and it's beautifully done, maybe there's just not enough given to him to help him to bring more tension through. There's not enough jeopardy. Will they make it back to the camp in time to warn everyone? Will they do this? It's just a little bit too much like they've given you the blurb on the back and not actually living every second when they're writing it.
That's true.
Well, speaking of blurbs, sorry, Roger, go ahead.
As you say, you're kind of a little bit dancing around this, Alec, but there's none of that drama and the character-driven drama that you get in Zulu with the characters of Chard and Bromhead, right? Where you've got that sort of that face-off, and you learn to know those characters. You might not love them, but you learn to know them, and you're invested in them. There isn't that element in Zulu Dawn, and actually the two main characters. I go back to, again, sticking the boot into Burt Lancaster, but the two main characters in, I would say, Peter O'Toole and Burt Lancaster. O'Toole, as we said, yes, okay, he's got the same sort of slightly ponderous presence on screen, but somehow it's convincing as a character in a way that Burt Lancaster just, to me, wasn't. I just found Burt Lancaster almost comedically bad.
Oh, well,
I'm afraid.
I'm going to have to discuss. So to Peter O'Toole, you watch Peter O'Toole in this film and you realise how good he would have been in Star Wars, don't you?
Yes.
So he would have been a brilliant emperor. After Lord Chelmsford, he could have gone straight.
Yes, absolutely.
But Burt Lancaster, I think, so there, at the start of the film, there's this strange implication of a romance or an affection or an affinity between Vereker's character played by Simon Ward and Burt Lancaster's much younger wife, isn't there?
Yes.
Are they married? I thought it was his daughter.
Is that his daughter? I think that's his wife.
No, I'm sure I'm wrong. I just assumed.
Yeah. And there is something, but that is completely left alone. It's completely neglected, and that's like a complete mistake. That's
of course. There was that would have been characterization right there.
Yeah. And so what they've done is they've deliberately walked away from all this characterization just to get the story done. And I don't know whether they ran out of money. We've got all this film to do. We've got to kill everyone. We've got 2 hours to do it because we can't afford to spend more money on film. We know they were short of money. I think something that's occurred to me is that there's a person at the heart of this film who was in Zulu but isn't in this film, and of course it's Stanley Baker.
Yes.
And not to get ahead of it, but he died of a heart attack or whatever, he had lung cancer when he was 48, and that was, I think, 76. But he was developing this film with Seinfeld, who he did Zulu with. And, the film would have been very different if he'd been around, because it would have undoubtedly because he obviously had a big imprint on Zulu. We don't know exactly what it was, but a lot of the things that are missing from the second film are not there in the first, and they make all the difference. So you feel like you're just being taken through the story rather than living the story, and that's the biggest. But is it still worth watching? I think it's still worth watching, because by the time you get 3/4 of the way through, and by the time the Zulu warriors are pouring in from every side, and these, the redcoats, it's called redcoats, but the British soldiers are, falling left, right, and centre. There's officers you've seen chatting and having a little chucker earlier, being stabbed. There's a guy firing some rockets off. He's dead within 10 seconds without even a valedictory groan at the camera and a roll. He's just gone. That was all quite exciting, the end. And then, as you say, then there's the sequence at the end where Verica and the others are trying to make off with the colours, and that's genuinely exciting too. And so maybe in a weird way, I mean, I don't know the precise nuts and bolts of the battle, but maybe they were just too wedded to the actual.
Well, I think that's part of the problem,
battle.
actually. You mentioned the battle. I felt that in a way they could have stuck a camera at the top of the mountain to give you a bit more of a better idea of how it went down. I mean, in that respect, it's accurate because it shows the sort of chaos of a battle. The fact that they all get slaughtered is in kind of rather it's sort of benign way. There's not enough blood. You get spears in chest, but there's a sort of squirt of ketchup, but that's about it. It's not really.
But that was always the way. I mean, in 1979, that was pretty much the norm, wasn't it? I mean, unless you go to, something like
Death Wish,
like Cross of Iron, which is
Jaws, you have bodies sliced in.
Yeah, but I mean, we're getting into the phase of sort of hyper reality, and then I think the earlier phase was someone gets shot or they get stabbed, and they just kind of go, oh. It's like.
But I was reading that
the reality of people dying from being stabbed is that they bleed to death over hours, rather than 2 seconds. So
I was reading that they tried to minimize the gore in order to appeal to a family audience, and I'm not convinced.
Okay, that was a mistake right there.
And one thing I wanted to mention, because I've done a lot of homework for this, I listened to an episode of In Our Time on the rise of the Zulu Kingdom.
Did you really?
Okay.
Yeah, and I have read Saul David, who was a guest on this, Saul David's excellent book on the Zulu War, Anglo-Zulu War.
Yes.
And the opening card of this film is, I think, a travesty, because it implies the Zulu Empire as this all-powerful, vast monolith surrounding a plucky British presence in South Africa. And it's just not the case. So whilst the Zulu Empire had grown in size quite considerably, I think the British Empire was more than a worthy opponent in this conflict. It really was. I don't know if you remember the opening card from the film at all.
Can you quote it? Oh, did you write it down? Because I did look at it and thought it was lacking in detail. And particularly not, I didn't think it, did brought a lot to the party. And then you go straight into Chelmsford and Frere, John Mills, who is sort of sadly underused, doing this, coming up with their, we're going to come up with this evil plan. And that's, well, it's okay. But again, it's all a bit pedestrian. I think, look, criticism one is the writing just wasn't there. Which is a great shame, because so many, the actors are there. Whether we could disagree on Burt, I mean, I quite liked. He seemed too old.
Yes, he did.
I mean, he's only about 100.
I think he was in his mid-60s when he did the role. But I think Verica, well, not Verica, Lord Colonel Durnford. I don't know how old he really was, but I imagine he wasn't quite as old as that.
Yeah.
Yes. Well,
but you can imagine Burt Lancaster saying, "Oh, he's got to be Irish. Oh, I can do Irish. It's fine." And then, what comes out of his mouth, God only knows what that was.
The opening card, just for the record here, is 100 years ago, the British colony of Natal in southern Africa is surrounded by a vast and independent Zulu kingdom. In 1879, a battle took place that was to forever alter the course of colonial history, Isandlwana. But I think it's, they're surrounded by a vast and independent Zulu kingdom. Slightly misleading, I think.
And the second statement is also misleading because a battle that changed the course of colonial history, because it only in so much as the scale of the defeat was so humiliating that the Brits decided there's no way it could go unpunished.
Yeah, exactly.
But in itself, it obviously helped bring down Disraeli's government, didn't it? Back home.
And upsetting civilians at their breakfast, of course.
Exactly. Yes. A real marmalade dropper.
Yeah, yeah. No, so, and the In Our Time episode is worth checking out because it's got some classic Melvin Bragg admonishing an annoying academic who goes off-piste.
I do like that sort of thing.
Yeah, it is very good.
Yeah.
But it's interesting the Zulu Kingdom. I mean, they did get lots of stuff right, like in the film, the weaponry they use, those cudgels with the ball at the head that you wouldn't want to be at the wrong end of.
Yeah.
Nor the spear, indeed. And actually, they did repeat the line from Zulu, which again we'll be talking about, is. Their spears, they don't run out. Our guns run out. Theirs don't. They repeated the line completely. But there's some great.
I thought you were going to say the great line, Zulu, sir. Thousands of them.
Yeah. Well, they didn't do that, did they?
No,
they didn't.
How could they?
How could you repeat that?
If you looked into the kind of history, because the central kind of tension, which is it's not the queuing up for the bullets during the battle.
Yeah,
there's perhaps 100,000 enemy approaching. You've got this elderly quartermaster belligerently berating.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, the queuing up people saying, you can't jump the queue. No, here we are. You've got to use the right bit of kit to open the box. Now, that actually did happen, didn't it? That is historic. It was discovered to be that there was this is a famous.
I think it was revealed by. I think it was the central theory of Horace Smith Dorrien, who was present at the battle and survived. He pins it on the ammunition, and they do show it's in this box, and you've got to peel away this sort of silver foil to get, and then you've got to take out a little box, which they seem like you wouldn't have many bullets in each package. And then they're handed out, and then, as you'd imagine, you would get through that supply very quickly.
Yeah.
And then you also imagine you'd scrape your hand quite easily on the. It's like a tin of sardines when it goes back.
Yeah,
You're definitely going to cut your hand getting the
tetanus from that. Yeah. And I think Smith Dorrien talks about the fact that they were nailed down, screwed in or something, and the screws were rusty and they couldn't get them out very quickly and stuff like that. But then Ian Knight, who's and Saul indeed as well, who've both written successful books about this, have kind of poo-pooed that theory, and I think that it's more based around the fact that the perimeter line where they were doing their shooting, highly advanced technical knowledge here. The defensive line, the thin red line,
wasn't it?
Yeah, it was too far out, so they had too long a defensive perimeter to defend.
Yes,
that seems to be the reason.
That makes sense.
But ammunition must have played a part, I would have thought. But
and they didn't fix bayonets. I mean, or any of that business. It was.
Yes, but it did change. It was interesting. I was reading into it in that the disaster in Luana did change the form of how you took on the Zulu. You would then instead form square and a much more concentration of fire, I suppose.
If only Denham Elliott had seen Zulu, it would have been so different.
So it's interesting to talk about Denham Elliott because he's a wonderful actor, and they obviously think that, and I think he plays Colonel Pullane.
Yeah.
So they think, right, well, look, Pullane's going to be this sort of rather ineffectual officer here. Let's hire Denham Elliott for that.
It's a shame because he's brilliant in it, but all he does is look scared or look lost. Or he could be in a care home. He spends most of the time, just looking like he's He has no clue what. There's one moment where he says, turn the guns to support Colonel Durnford's troops as they retire, and that's the moment of there's a guy with a grip, but actually, the rest of him, he's just and again, he's not developed.
And he also meekly accepts his fate.
He does, doesn't he?
That was very poor form,
which is very weird. Yeah. So you're right, but this is, Alec. This is kind of typical of everything that we've been saying. Is that you've got these brilliant character actors, and they're just not really used. The script and the whole screenplay is not using them to their best ability.
There is a great little exchange where the scale of the disaster is unfolding. So Ronald Pickup, who's a great actor, a very young-looking Ronald Pickup, even though, and he's actually worked with Tim. It's a shame Tim isn't here because he directed Ronald Pickup in one of his short films.
Wow.
But Ronald Pickup's sort of in his rather naff uniform, I have to say, the light blue uniforms didn't look great. I don't think, and I think Ian Knight says that that's incorrect. They're not historically accurate.
Well, anyway, they're kind of like dragoons or something.
Yeah, I think so. But he was saying that they didn't. That's wrong. But anyway, he sort of gallops over, and I didn't think he was panicking. He just said, "By the way, it looks like we're all being slaughtered."
Yeah,
and the Michael Jaston character upbraids him, saying, "Oh, you must be calm."
A professional soldier who's yes. calm at all times. So Lord Chaucer won't take hysterics kindly or whatever. Yeah.
I did think that was wonderful because the Pickup was being pretty calm. I mean, he would have been a lot calmer than I would have been. I would be like, "Oh, everyone's dying. It's a disaster." That was wonderful. But
there wasn't enough of that. That's the point. There wasn't enough of that. That needed, he needed those elements and those sort of moments to elevate it, and it just didn't happen.
I think there was a moment where one of the privates, and I think he's a very good actor. He was in Bridge Too Far as well. I've forgotten his name. He is hiding under a wagon.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he shoots the Zulu commander. And again, that's poor form. I didn't like that. That's sort of cheating.
Is it? I mean, they're all going. They're all gone. I think he to quote Nigel Green, he picked his target when he came. He saw his man. He could see that he was key. But then a few seconds later, we then see him lying dead.
Yes,
in a glancing shot. Whereas actually, basically, they should have followed him. They should have given him a couple of minutes, shouldn't they, to bring that story true, rather than just before and after.
Yes. That's true.
Yeah, that's the weakness of it. But look, I still think it's worth watching, and I still think by the end of it, you get an emotional hit out of this experience. But the thing is, I don't think a modern audience will sit through the enormous preamble. But the ending is worth it if you do. It's incredible. I think actually those battle scenes. I mean, I don't think we'll ever see their like again.
It was wonderful. I mean, just sort of a rather interesting element to this is I think many of the Zulu were performed by people from townships in Johannesburg that were shipped in. And shall we play a game of how much did they get paid each? It was not.
Oh, I think I know this. I saw it. Was it £2 a day?
It's something like that. It's really, really not good. Something like £2.70 or something.
Yeah.
So I know as our resident Telegraph columnist, Alec, what's your view on that?
Well, I'd say that in 1980, a pint of beer cost 25 pence in this country.
That's true.
The £2.50
important point
is worth
go a long way.
Was good. I mean, you could probably go to the pub and have a really good night out and still have time for a bag of chips and pay the rent when you go home. But no, I mean, it still seems like a small amount of money, doesn't it? Because what was the budget of the film? £500,000 or something, But then you got. I mean, I don't know how many thousands extras they had.
Yeah, they had a lot, didn't they? It was incredible. And of course, it's made during apartheid as well. So, I mean, I wonder if that was a problem in getting it a release in America.
I don't know. Yeah. Does it raise an actual question mark over the ethics of the film? I mean, I think so.
Indeed.
Well, I did read that it wasn't released in South Africa because they thought the optics of lots of black men slaughtering white men was not something that they wanted to propagate. So
you can imagine
that was a problem.
John Hurt was going to be in the John Hurt was all scheduled, I think, to star or take one of the roles, and he was refused entry. And he couldn't work out why, because he's not particularly political. And they mixed him up with someone called John Hurd in America. That was the South African intelligence service that gives you an indication of how good they were.
Yeah.
Right, should we do our awards?
Go on then.
So, best performance. I mean, there isn't really. I mean, O'Toole, I guess, is the main man in the film, but he's not in it that much.
He has a sort of convincing presence, I think.
Yeah.
He's in it. He's in it more than Judi Dench is in Shakespeare in Love, and she got the Oscar for that.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
I think. I think he's the most outstanding individual in it.
I would go Bob Hoskins.
Oh yeah,
I would say Bob Hoskins for support, but I mean, I agree.
We
Bob
can
Hoskins
do that. Yeah, we can.
Bob
go
Hoskins
with,
was the only
no
one
else
that really seemed to get a character going.
Peter Vaughan was just so good as grumpy quartermaster.
Yeah, I think he was, and of course, then he turns up in Remains the Day as Anthony Hopkins' dad, doesn't he?
Yes.
It's basically, I was trying to spend the film trying to remember where I recognised him from.
He's in Game of Thrones as well. He plays.
He is, yes, indeed. Yeah.
Plays one of those guys with chains around their necks.
And of course, Porridge. Let's not forget Porridge.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. He's the big villain. He's the big boss in the prison, isn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, there are all sorts of fantastic acting talent there. So no mention for Burt Lancaster then. He's
not. No. Past his sell by date.
I think Simon Ward does quite a lot with not a lot.
Yes, I agree with that. Yeah,
because he's a plausible. I mean, he's the kind of the heroic figure in the film.
Yeah, because he gives very good hair.
Does he?
Right.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you who's. There's a really funny. The actor is forgotten. Don't know his name, and he plays the sort of Royal Naval. I don't know why there's a Navy guy there, but there is. Probably was at the time. And I think it's his job to look at the telescope and see what's going on. Yeah. He's hilariously posh in it. He said, "My lord, I think I found, there's a smoke, but the camp is still in place," or something like that. It's very good in it. But okay, so we've done our award. So it's Peter O'Toole gets Best Actor and Bob Hoskins gets Best Supporting.
Yes.
I mean, most egregious overacting.
Well, Burt Lancaster, all day long.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think when he dies, he's not helped by the score kicking in. I mean, the score
we haven't
sort of
started on the score. The score was, I thought, was one of the biggest problems in the film.
I agree.
So intrusive.
When the slaughter is happening, that's when you ramp up the chaos and the fire and
but it's
stabbing.
Constant. The noise of the score was just constant.
Yeah, it's just sort of going on in the background, not particularly loud, just like elevator music.
Yeah, drove me mad.
Well, it sort of changes chord when Lancaster is shot initially, and then someone hurls a spear in him. And I think they're trying to make us feel emotional when he dies, but
and that's it.
I just felt relief.
Yeah, you do. It's a bit. I don't know where you stand on Titanic, but when
awful
Leonardo DiCaprio's character eventually disappears into the water, I was so relieved because I thought I can go home soon. I felt more warmth to Burt Lancaster in this film. I thought he died. Colonel Durford died bravely. Taking pot shots at people. But again, it really was incredibly underwhelming.
Underwhelming. Yeah.
And Durford, actually, we should mention, Durford gets blamed for this defeat terribly unfairly by Chelmsford, who is doing his best to avoid blame for any of this. But I think Garnet Wolseley, who is dispatched to take over command of the army in the war, he arrives, but by then Chelmsford's managed to defeat the Zulu at the Battle of Ulundi, and the war is over. But Wolsey does say that Chelmsford had blamed Durnford unfairly. But Chelmsford is fine because he's a friend of a favourite of Queen Victoria's. But it's a fascinating. I really would encourage listeners to read Saul David's book. I'll put a link in because there is there's obviously what they don't include here, which they can't, but is a fascinating episode. Is the imperial sort of crown prince Louis Napoleon, who comes a cropper against the Zulu. He's the son of Napoleon III. And he is isolated, I think, in a kind of scouting party and gets surrounded by some Zulu who slice him open, and that's the end of it.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And that's all. Okay.
Yeah, that's later on in the war. But it's another embarrassment for the British there. You know, we've managed to snuff out the French, or actually an achievement in a way, to snuff out the French imperial royal family.
Yeah. Probably help France out. Yeah.
There's a silver lining. So,
exactly.
So right, okay. Next award, biggest plot flaw. I think maybe the ammunition is misleading in that they are clearly saying this is the reason for the defeat.
Yes,
but I think I do. I think maybe a plot flaw. Or is maybe an absence of a bit more of a plot would be good if they had, I think, concentrated more on the Zulu commanders, because it does sort of slightly look like they've randomly been sent to the camp, whereas there was a lot more oversight and the Zulu general, who his name escapes me now.
Kitchewe, the king.
He's the king. I think there's a general in charge of the army who orchestrated the battle and masterminded the victory.
I think the biggest plot flaw is that there isn't a plot apart from there's a story here about two guys who cook up a casus belli and then they launch an invasion and then they all get chopped because they divide the forces and don't manage the battle very well.
I think that's a fair comment. The biggest plot flaw is that there isn't a plot. Absolutely.
Fair enough. Okay, all right. Then historical inaccuracy. Again, maybe it's that ammunition thing. Anything else?
It definitely happened, though, didn't it? It definitely happened. It was definitely.
Well, I know. I don't. I think I might be. Overplaying how. I think you're right. I think that I don't really know if there is a plot flaw in it. Then.
You mean inaccuracy? Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, inaccuracy. Yeah. Sorry, historical inaccuracy. I'm trying to think what there is. Maybe the uniforms. Maybe because they get the Coghill and Melville bit quite accurately, don't they? So
Again, maybe that's the problem. Is that it's
too? Yeah, that's the thing. They sacrificed the story for accuracy.
It needed to go off the rails to actually tell a story.
Okay, so now if Tarantino had made it, I think that would have been awesome. There would have been.
Imagine.
I mean, people have actually taken the entire film just to die. So there would be.
That. That could have been quite interesting, with the sort of guts falling out of them.
Yes, exactly.
I think the Tarantino version would be the goriest trilogy in the history of cinema. I mean, I think.
Yeah. But again, it would allow space for characterization, which this didn't.
Absolutely.
So I think it would be bloodier, but I think it would be an infinitely better film, actually. Yeah. With that,
I wonder if he would have taken on. I think he would have taken on the Zulu commanders a little bit more, got more characterization of the Zulus. That would have been really interesting.
Witnessing a discussion of the Zulu military leadership, for example. Witnessing,
that would be fascinating.
Witnessing them scampering, moving their forces, seeing it from both sides would have ramped up the jeopardy massively. And you just don't see any of that. You get the surprise, which is quite good, of when they're coming. But really, it's.
But then, I think that's absolutely right, Alec. But then, is that too much to expect from a film from 1979?
I mean, I don't know. It's going off piece, but A Man Called Horse from the early 70s, which is it's Richard Harris plays a kind of American settler or something who gets introduced and becomes part of a Native American tribe, and then fights the American government or whatever. I mean, there weren't many films around that took a decidedly, and so it probably is too much.
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I go back to Cross of Iron, which was notable. That was 77, I think. We talked about it on this, or a previous iteration. Of this film. But that was notable because it was one of the first Hollywood films to tell the World War II story from the German perspective, right? So these were still outliers at that point, where anyone played with the perspective at all. So, I mean, I take your point entirely. It would have been a better film, but is that maybe too much to expect from 1979? I don't know.
I would say absolutely, yeah. And also, they've got the limits of their perspective is the only perspective.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And I think, but I also think that to be fair to them, the filmmakers, particularly Seinfeld and co, it's not a film where Englishmen come out smelling of roses. No. By any means, So I think on the level they're operating at, they are sticking the boot in a thoroughly proper way, from in certainly sense of modern sensibilities.
Yeah, well, I think it's widely accepted that this was not the finest hour in the British Empire.
One of the many, exactly.
yeah. But there are plenty of Victoria Crosses handed around after this battle. I think Melville and Coghill, the two chaps with the colours, I think, get Victoria Crosses. Are there any others? There probably were. So the final question is, who won the film? And I think actually, because the film was such a disaster, it's difficult to see who did win.
Who won the film? The Zulus.
Yeah. Well, I think the Zulus won it.
Good point. I like that. Yeah. They did. And also, I mean, look, they spent a lot of money, the producers of this film, and basically bankrupted themselves.
Yes.
So,
and I mean, you can't complain at that. I think that's fair result.
Roger, harsh. Okay. All right. Fantastic stuff. This is great. We'll end this discussion. And then we'll be coming up next will be the film Zulu. So it'll be interesting to see what we think about that. But thank you, Alec. Thank you, Roger.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ollie.
We've come to the end of this club meeting, so thank you for listening. If you want to get in touch about club benefits, please do, either by email or on X or Instagram. Links are in the show notes. I've also included my Substack link so members can read articles I've written on various matters that may be of interest. The History Book Club is written and presented by me, Oliver Webb-Carter. Music is by listener Chat DMZ. Episodes continue next week and every week, so please do join, subscribe, and if you can provide the club with a 5-star rating, we would be delighted. In the meantime, I thank you again, and now I have to usher members out into the real world. Until next time.
Look what TJ Maxx dragged in.
The Devil Wears Prada 2 is now streaming on Disney Plus and Hulu.
We are digital, we are downloadable, we are streamable.
The fashion event of the year is certified fresh.
Pull yourself together. We have work to do.
Critics say it's smart and witty and the perfect sequel.
That's all.
Get runway ready for The Devil Wears Prada 2 on Disney Plus and Hulu. Rated PG-13.
Starting a business can seem like a daunting task, unless you have a partner like Shopify. They have the tools you need to start and grow your business. From designing a website to marketing to selling and beyond, Shopify can help with everything you need. There's a reason millions of companies like Mattel, Heinz, and Allbirds continue to trust and use them. With Shopify on your side, turn your big business idea into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. See terms.